First of all, thanks everyone for joining us. We've been doing this panel for a couple weeks now, and we've been having a lot of fun with it. Started off kind of reaching out and kind of a general health check for our community and figuring out ways in which we could pull together during this time and talk about, kind of how we're dealing with it, how we're getting through, how we can be there and support for one another. It's turned into, a lot of really great conversations and some gems that have been dropped from folks in our community. This week is what we're calling our city edition, where we're tapping in with different cities around the country and bringing in, the who's who of that city that to kind of speak to how the city's holding up and really kind of the nature of the conversations that we've had over the last couple of days have been so cool, because it's like people that grew up in the business together and really kind of built the music community in those cities. So KP is going to help us kind of navigate Atlanta today. But before turning it over to KP, I wanted to just, also, to me anyway, is, the godfather of Atlanta, Jermaine, just kind of maybe you can kick it off a little bit. And, as one of the guys who really started for me in my age demo, bringing attention to Atlanta and really understanding the musical texture and community there. So would love to kind of start it off with you and in kicking off Atlanta.
Well, I mean, I guess from everything that's been happening online, I think that that's a shot, a snapshot to show people where we are mentally, as far as with I guess in the business anyway, showing the strength of the first 4-5 battles that's been, these these first, I guess I would say that the last 3 battles are all, come from this city, and the energy that's in this city, and just the I guess the friendship that we have, and even though it's as much competition as we've all been around, these battles show you exactly what the energy of the city is, basically. You have Sean Garrett in one area of this town, you have Dream in another area of this town, you have Jonte in this area. Neo actually became a transplant to Atlanta, as well as T-Pain. So it's like, and then you got Lil Jon. It's just, it shows you, and then just the fact, the camaraderie that we have, and nobody's really, we all won already, basically. It's just, just showing you that energy that's in this city. And I feel like one of the things that people are taking from this is watching that all of this is happening in Atlanta. One of the things I was saying before we even got on air is that, it also shows that Atlanta's been the Georgia power to damn near all of these record companies for the last 20 years. You know what I'm saying? We've been the power and the lights and the cable bill and all the other you know what I'm saying? So
need some more money, we got it.
Yeah. You know what I mean? We and it's been going on for a long time. And I feel like for me, being here and starting when I did, to see that and to see that it's still going, and to start seeing people, like Jonte get their flowers after being in this game for 20 years. I think it's I love what's happening with the quarantine situation. I love that. Like I said, I feel like it's making people stop and pay attention. And as long as we can continue to keep directing you to stop and pay attention, or providing you with something that makes you want to pay attention, I feel like we're all in a good space. I feel like we have one of the best mayors in the world helping and contributing to make this a better place to be during this entire situation. I seen, Keisha said, excuse me, Mayor Bottom said yesterday that she was going to waive all the senior citizens that live in these homes and that can't pay their bills right now for the next 3 months. I haven't seen any of these other cities actually say that. But I feel like, that's the nature of Atlanta. We step out and we do our thing, and we try to create this wave to make other people join a part of it. And I'm happy to see that that's, it's going on out here. That's the energy I feel like is in the city. I feel like, the other day we celebrated 404 Day. A lot of people, I saw a lot of people on my line. A lot of people it felt like a family reunion, basically, you know what I'm saying? And everybody didn't, like I said, in the midst of all of this, it's bad for everybody. I got friends that's sick. I got homies that y'all all know that's been in the hospital, that's getting in and out of the hospital. So it's not something that's avoiding us in Atlanta. We just, we're doing what Atlanta is always done. You know what I mean? It's the city that's too proud to hate. Ain't that our slogan? Huh? Too busy. Yeah, we too busy to hate. But we ain't too busy now. We just happy. We very much appreciative of the things that we have in this city. That's what I believe. And this stop makes us really appreciate it from everybody,
Church.
Absolutely. And we did get verbal confirmation. Justice got verbal confirmation offline that you are open and willing and ready to battle when the right opponent presents itself.
I mean, well, I think everybody knows this. I mean, like I said, I've been in all of it's interesting because we gotta make sure we keep the focus right. It's like Joe Budden. I guess he's one of the guys that's like instigating a lot of these. He called everybody. He didn't call me. Like it's like they going around. I know I'm an elephant. You know what I'm saying? You can't go around me. It's not a room big enough for you to. I'm in the room. I'm in all the rooms. And like I said about these battles, though, the battles is a one-time thing. I think people don't understand that. If I battle one time, then you've heard all my music, and then it's like, okay, so we know what he gonna do if he goes. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like you got the right opponent for everybody, and not just me. It's for everybody. You got to pick the right opponent. That's why even with the T-Pain, I felt like T-Pain and John was better for each other than T-Pain and Scott Storch.
Yeah, I agree with.
So in all that, we got a lot of people on here. Let's see, Bim. What up, Bim? Atlanta Influences Everything. Fadia with Instagram. Justice with LVRN. Falana with the City. Everybody in here with Q&A. We want to just, I guess, focus on, well, not even focus, just have a conversation on how you guys doing. Like, Fadia, how are you doing over there? Like, you're from Atlanta, you're out here in LA stranded with me.
Stranded is I'm doing great in a sense of that Instagram is keeping me extremely busy, as we all know, with everything going on the platform right now. It's just natural that everyone is going to the number one source where they're trying to connect, be it with their interest or their family and friends or public figures, So we're seeing a lot of creativity and a lot of madness at the same time. So I haven't even had time to like decompress or watch a Netflix show. Like literally, like there's no sense of time anymore for me. It's just like call after call, trying to keep artists extremely motivated, giving people like, real-time feedback, like, oh, you want to do this show, but how about you think about this? So it's been crazy, but we're doing our part, staying home and trying to make sure that everybody else is staying home too, so we can flatten this curve.
That's right. Falana, Jermaine touched on the city of Atlanta and what Mayor Bottoms is doing. Do you have any other insight on things that are helping in this time?
Yes, I do. And hi, everyone. So, I think Jermaine said it best in terms of the spirit of Atlanta. I can't even come behind that because you really just spoke to the resilience of this city. And yes, we do have an amazing mayor. Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms has been on the front line from the beginning. And I want to really applaud her for taking a stance when the state would not, and putting in regulations for our city to help protect the residents of the city when we were waiting on the state to do things that it may have taken them longer to do. So, you know, it just really speaks to who Atlantans are, who our leader is, and we're doing amazing things. The city is doing amazing things in terms of programs for Atlantans. There is a program called ATL Strong, which the mayor launched. Someone from my team is in the chat now, and they will put that in the group chat for Atlantans who want to find out more about this program. But you can actually sign up for assistance during this time. So please do just look at that link, and you can go on that link and find out more information about what the city is offering in terms of programs and funding for Atlantans who are in need right now. She also backed our office, which is the Mayor's Office of Film and Entertainment. It's a program that we started with Invest Atlanta and City National Bank, and also the Mayor's Office of Cultural Affairs led by Camille Love. So this fund is actually directly for creatives and bottom line creatives. So people who are on the front line in the creative fields, albeit film, music, fashion, tech. So anyone on the front line who right now that you can't work, you know, you've been out of work for 30 days, you don't have a paycheck that you get twice a month, every 2 weeks. You know, you are a consultant and you rely on jobs that sometimes, you know, the jobs may come 1 or 2 weeks in advance. You may not have a contract. You might be a drummer in a band. You might be a background singer. You may be a hairstylist or a makeup artist who's relying on that film or that video to get your next paycheck. Anyone on the front line right now who is being affected by this pandemic, we have created a fund called Curated Relief Fund, and creatives can apply for a you don't have to pay it back, it's a grant, so you can apply for funds to help you during this time period. The grants are between $1,000 to $5,000 per creative, and it's going to be launched very soon, and we'll get you guys more information about that. It's going to be a partnership with ATL Strong. So we look at ATL Strong, which is a citywide initiative, as a sister fund to the Curated Fund, which is primarily targeted towards creatives in the city of Atlanta. But I will say that along with that, there are Atlantans, you know, outside of the city doing great things. I really want to shout out Lecrae and what he's doing in the city. He's putting up washing stations all over Atlanta for the homeless community. He's about, I would say, 25, 30 washing stations in. He's partnering with the city and other organizations, and we're going to put more washing stations out for homeless, the homeless community in Atlanta. I know I've had several conversations with a lot of our creatives, Tip, Jeezy, 2 Chainz, so many others, and everybody's on the front lines messaging to our community to stay at home. They are giving quietly and behind the scenes, and as well as other organizations and music organizations. So we'll send out more information and share it with this group about the programs that we have. There should also be someone on the call from my team who's putting in the chat more organizations, not only in Atlanta, but around the country, who are contributing to creatives in Atlanta and around the country. So there's many, many grants and loans for creatives and small businesses and entertainment companies that provide assistance to the Atlanta community and others during this time period.
That's dope.
Yeah, I wanna piggyback on Falana. This is Bame Joyner with Atlanta Influences Everything. Not only, you know, there are grants and opportunities to help creatives, but the moment COVID hit, from the D Nice thing with Spotty, you know, that was amazing, to the local homie Jasmine Crow with Gooder, to a lot of these very small operations, and it could be a small operation like a Love Renaissance that moves very small and nimble but powerful, or it could be an organization like Gooder. These organizations that have 10 or less like employees, and and I can remove Love Renaissance from this piece, but organizations that kind of gross less than $1 million a year, but very small and mighty. And these have really been like the first responders from the creative class and the startup community. They were already making like pieces of they were making fashion, right? And they did a pivot to start making masks because they had the equipment and they were small enough to not have to ask for permission of anybody. They knew masks needed to be made and they stepped up to the occasion. And so what you have in the city, you have creatives that need and freelancers that need assistance, but you also have creatives and freelancers that through their musical art form or whatever they make with their hands, they have immediately injected themselves in the equation to help, and they've been able to shift to help. And I think it's happening in Atlanta, but it's happening all over. And I think to see these partnerships, and hopefully partnerships that will continue long after COVID. Like, yo, you stepped up to the occasion. The Love Beyond Walls is making the washing stations. They got Lecrae. And I think those type of music and cultural community connections, Atlanta, it's basically in our DNA to even act that way, you know? So this is a good opportunity to show what we do in Atlanta.
Yeah, and just to add to what Bim said, it's, you know, when you think about Atlanta, like, I don't know too many cities where Lecrae and the Atlanta Mayor's Office of Film and Entertainment can connect and get that messaging to the mayor, or where you have Jasmine Crowwood-Gooder, who's doing such amazing things, as Bam just said, who the mayor went to about a week ago. The mayor went to her distribution center, which APS actually gave her a school to expand her distribution center. And the mayor went to view what she was doing, to talk to her. She called, you know, some corporations to help fund what she's doing, because she's fundraising and paying for this out of pocket. There's no grocery store giving her money or free food. Like, she's fundraising. Coach K and his team actually have contributed to her fund, and so many more Atlantans. So that just speaks to who Atlanta is, when you can have the creative community and government and corporations come together so quickly and galvanize to help the people.
Yeah, I think the other part about Atlanta, and Jermaine touched on it, is because it's real people having real relationships, and it's always been that way. So it's kind of second nature to just jump in and help where you can. It's like, I think that's just the spirit of it. I'd like to hear from Justice, as you know, young gun on the feed, and just, you know, kind of get an idea, what are the young creatives, you know, what's the vibe?
I mean, for me, like, it's funny because it's an irony to it, right? Obviously, there's just like COVID and what it's done to the community, what it's done to the world. It's like, you know, it's catastrophic. But in the same breath, you know, I kind of appreciate it because, you know, kind of like Jermaine was saying, where like we finally got a chance to just sit down and just pay attention, just listen to the universe, listen to the people, listen to each other. Because I feel like, you know, just as a culture and as a whole, you know, like, everything is just like out of sight, out of mind. And I feel like because we have nothing but time on our hands, we literally have to pay attention, and we literally have to take our time. And for me, you know, like, for me, how I'm looking at it is, this is not a time to lounge. It's really a time to learn a new skill, you know, like, and to get smarter and to really come out of this, you know, better and more prepared for the future. You know, like, for me, like, I'm just taking this time to just learn about finance and just learn about the idea of, you know, money, and the idea and how important it is to talk about it, and how important it is to understand how these things work. And then also trying to teach myself new skills like Photoshop and just to become a better and more efficient creative, and to be more self-sufficient. And I feel like from the youth and from the younger perspective and lenses, like, you know, it is a very hard time, you know, like, trying to find where your next dollar is going to come from is very, like, it's shaky. But, you know, the only way we can do it is be creative, because with less time and with less resources and not being able to go outside, you have to be more creative. It forces you to think in creative ways that you couldn't imagine. We have one of our artists that, and we're seeing the trends where people want to go outside so bad, but we can't go outside. So we're going to start a club on Instagram. And that's just the vibe. Right. But that level of touching the audience and touching the people and just being able to live and breathe, music and art and expression and entertainment, has never been so thriving. So like, it's just, it's a good time, but bad time at the same time, if that makes any sense.
Right. I get that. I'm actually curious from where I stand in it to see what the music or what the art that comes out of this is, because it's more time, so you got time to pay attention, so you kind of listening a little bit more. So the music has to kind of step up a bit. They in the sense of streaming being down, but then they say like the old records are being streamed at a higher rate because they're like comfort food. Like you got Bob Marley streaming super high, Stevie Wonder, and obviously Bill Withers, rest in peace. But it's music that kind of is applicable to the time. Like I'm happy that I'm from the crew I'm from, being a Dungeon Family dude. It's like to see memes about Goody Mob in 2020 and how that music is and was effective in times of struggle. It's dope. Even to move toward now, just trying to see who's gonna make that post-pandemic music that stands up. Because I don't know how hard you can ball in this.
Yeah, I mean, I think from my perspective, like as a generation, I feel like where we've kind of fallen short on everything is the attention to detail to the art, the attention to detail to the things that we're working on. I've been in the studio with certain artists and like don't make a song in 30 minutes and that's great. Get the idea out, but like now that you have literally 7 days and 24 hours and 7 days, you can't go anywhere. I think that it's going to push artists to spend more time on their songs, push producers to spend more time on their compositions. And it's essentially, you can only talk about going to the club for so long, but if you can't go to the club, you physically can't go to the club, how can you make music about going to the club? You know what I'm saying? So okay, cool. So like now it's just going to challenge artists to just have a different thought. Like, yeah, okay, how do I feel?
Over the screen, you're not gonna stun on me. I can't. You just can't.
We're all right. You can't. Right. You know what I'm saying? It's just like I feel like music is an expression of the times, and with our generation, again, we don't get to experience tragedy and take it serious. And this is the only time where, because you have to sit down, you actually have to experience tragedy and take it serious, and it's real. So I feel like this is gonna like unlock a whole different thought process or a whole different, brain cell in the generation to be like, oh wait, like let me actually take this serious. Let me actually think about things, and let me actually, find a way to express how I feel and think about how I feel, because we can easily gloss over everything for so long. But so I'm curious.
Same.
I think I just want to jump in for a second. I think it's also important to note that it's not only just with artists. It's, COVID-19 has been the big equalizer for everyone right now. Like we're all on the same playing field, and it's our time to recalibrate exactly where we are and where we're going. We're going to talk about the music industry and, our vertical, so to speak, right now. And it's just, it's going to be interesting. I mean, the conversations that we're all having, amongst executives or creatives or illustrators, everyone is reshifting and recalibrating, like what is next after COVID-19? Because we're literally on a train that's moving and tracks are being laid as we are moving on this train. So if you're not building community at this time, more than ever, and trying to like be, part of a solution long-term, and really looking at like, what were the issues that we were having? We were moving so fast as an industry, how can we help each other to move forward? And I think that's the most important thing. And that's the conversations that I'm having like one-on-one or in small groups. So that's why like these kind of forums are so important right now, because it's reconnecting us. Because again, it's a great equalizer, and we're all, like Justice said, we're stuck at home. Like, and KP said, like, you can't stun on me right now. I don't have FOMO. Like, I'm cool. I'm not at this party either, but guess what? We're at Club Quarantine with D Nice, or we're with Ninth Wonder, or we're with, you know, JD on 404 Day. Like, everybody's in the same spot, partying with Oprah and Michelle Obama.
Yes, and Joe Biden.
And hey, and Bernie.
Yeah, be careful. The party can't get corny. Anyway, so what's up? Do we want to do quick? Like, what's the Jay? This is, you know, you guys, Troy.
We've just been having general conversation, KP. We haven't been really directing it in a certain area. We definitely want to just hear from everybody musically, you know, just, you know, everything outside of the pandemic as well, too. So it's kind of just, y'all are walking us through Atlanta. We, you know, us Philly people over here, we passengers today.
Yeah, the funny thing is I feel like you guys, like I'm in LA missing home. So it's just as informative to me. Like, I love that I can actually, you know, I'm going online reading what Keisha Lance Bottoms is doing in Atlanta. You know, we're watching and supporting all our friends on Instagram. Like, just it's cool. You know, just trying. I think a lot of us are learning how to be teachers. You know, patience is coming into play in a major way. You know, I think we're all growing in this space, you know, and that is the upside of it. You know, the obvious downsides are there, but in this time where you get a chance, you know, just look around, take stock of what's going on. Like, I feel like I've done everything from painting a garage to, you know, to get better as a DJ, to read more. And I think, that's just, a lot of it is based on the people I talk to and asking them what they're doing, and they give you these ideas. It's like, this is the time for community to step up and share that information, share whatever bit of positive energy you can with anybody. Like, just, you got to give it. Like, I think that's the other part of what's happening online and with social media. There's no current, the only currency is you being there, like, you actually paying attention. So it's like, it's all fair at this point. It's like, whoever's like D Nice, the beauty of what was done with that Club Quarantine is, it's a culmination of the person he is. It's like, these are all the people he's DJ'd for the last 10 years, and we're all sitting around bored, and he gave us something to join in. He gave us a spot to commune. And this is that moment where if everybody just does what they do really naturally and well, you can do it and you can excel at it, because people are looking for like the best good energy possible.
Yeah, and I'd love to say one more thing in regards to that, KP. It goes back to influencing the influencers. Like, everybody that was in that live with D, 250, we were all homies. Like, between KP, like Caroline Yim texting KP or Heather or whoever, like, we were all like, yo, jump in D's live. Yeah. So when internally, like at Facebook Inc., when people started asking me, like, what made it pop off? I'm like, music execs. We're all a community.
It's the culture.
Well, it's like, but having, you know, it's like, I think what a lot of times we get away from, because we move so fast, we don't give a place to meet. Like, we don't have a place that we all can meet. We're like, if JD's birthday is happening and I'm in LA, I can't be there. But in this situation, like, you can show up, you can show support. You know, it's actually more than convenient at this point to be in touch.
Right. I feel like
I was just gonna add, like, just, you know, going back to Atlanta and how Jay kicked it off, asking JD just, you know, what you were there from the very, very beginning, and, you know, and of course we know your dad, and so, you know, and your lineage. Like, what do you guys like attribute the it's like almost like a tilling of the soil, like where you guys now have like multiple generations of producers, artists, executives. Like, is there like just some like a connectivity there that breeds this, or like, what do you guys attribute it to?
I think it's two things. I'm sorry, Jay. I think it's two. I can speak from this part. It's, you got people who are born out of, you know, if you've seen the documentary on Atlanta, like, they were born out of the civil rights movement. Like, all of our parents were about that togetherness. So, you know, and the understanding on how to use our numbers as power. Like, that's always been what it is. Like you got to remember, Atlanta we weren't looked at as the cool kids. So whenever we showed up in New York or LA, when we saw each other, we were together. Like that's just what it is, because we understood that it's like the CMB shit. We all we got. So that underdog and community, reality that we had made us do all of our things that way. So if we see a younger, I met Justice probably about 5 years ago, and when you see somebody with talent, you want to pour into that person. You want to make sure that the right people have the right information to navigate through it so that it doesn't go backwards. And I think that's one of those Atlanta things. It's like you said, Jermaine, the lineage, like we all had somebody teach us something.
Yeah, and I also feel like, we talk about culture so much in our industry, right? And I think a lot of times people be saying culture, and they like really miss what that actually means sometimes. And I learned this when I started doing the rap game, and I brought these kids into Atlanta from like Chicago, and I brought them from LA, and I brought them from these different places. And they would tell me that they didn't have talent shows in their city. They ain't have skating rinks to go to, especially in Chicago. The skating rinks is closed in the hoods and all of that, And I think that that's one of the things that still to this day people don't understand about Atlanta. In our hoods, the culture is thriving. In our hoods, the culture is not. The culture is so alive that people that are not supposed to be in the hood have to go to the hood because the culture is so alive. I say this all the time when I was, Magic City, for example. You look at Magic City on Monday night, Magic City is the only place in America where you can stand beside somebody that will literally kill you, besides somebody that's got $1 million, besides somebody that's got a #1 record, besides somebody that's the #1 executive at a record company. I'm talking about all these same people directly right beside each other. It's a real activity that happens in Atlanta, and I think that's what actually is the fuse that goes through one person to the next. Take KP for instance. I've been knowing KP before we both was in the music industry, because we both come from the same block, and we went to the skating rink. You know what I'm saying? And being in the skating rink introduced me to Dallas Austin, and being in the skating rink introduced. This is a real activity city, and a lot of times, I know I was telling Lil Jon this about when I was DJing. He was like, "Man, that your live was like a family reunion," and I'm saying like, that's how my parties were. My birthday party used to be exactly that. You could come to Jermaine Dupri birthday party and see everybody that you thought was somebody in Atlanta. It was a thing for them to be there. And if they was from out of town, they thought they had to come here so they could be a part of it. And it's just a vibe that we always had in this town since day one. And it's really about, like no hate, you know what I mean? Like nobody, I never hated on Organized Noise because Outkast had a diamond album. All that did was make me say, shit, we gotta go make us a diamond album. Like, they doing it, we gotta do it. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's the same thing. It's the same energy. Some kind of way we have figured out how to transcend this energy
and push
one person to the next person, to the next person, to the next person. And the younger community is in the same way. They take it and they move with it in the same way that we have.
Yeah, like you can't find a record that comes out of Atlanta that doesn't have at least 3 other outside people on it, because we understand like we are stronger together, and that's just and that's just not Atlanta. It's like we're that way in general, unless you're not that way.
Yeah, 100%.
Living in New York and in LA, I would say Atlanta is the only city where it feels like, we all know the theory of the 6 degrees of separation, right? We're all separated by 6 degrees at the end of the day. But Atlanta is the only city that feels it's a degree of association. Like I'm literally away from one person associated, not even separated. It's an association thing. And out of all the places I've ever lived, I only get that vibe in Atlanta. It does not matter. And like JD and KP said, wherever I go, I know I have a community. And when I lived in New York and was working a complex, I brought all my shit back to Atlanta. every opportunity that I had with a brand that I could bring, be it like Sony, or Sony as in the product, or Samsung, I brought them back to Atlanta, because it's true. Like Bame and Ian Ford and everyone says, Atlanta literally influences everything from music to culture to, just everything you can imagine. So.
And I think that the thing that you also touched on, but I think people don't get, like, a lot of people do like favors for the homies, but when your homies are actually the shit, it's easy to do favors. It's like when I got my job at LaFace at doing A&R, and the first like real thing I got was Usher. The first person I thought was my homeboy who lives up the street, who's dope.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm gonna take that to JD first. Like, that's my guy. He can do it. Unless he would have said nah, it was easy, because we understand that everybody is actually capable. Like, the people we fuck with, we wouldn't fuck with them in real life if they weren't dope.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not industry. It's really just like, who can I be in a car with for 2 hours? Like, we can't work if that don't work.
100%.
Justice, what's been y'all approach just on the LVRN side, just being around all this rich tradition, but also just carving out y'all own space and like smashing it how y'all have been doing it with everything y'all have been working on, but also just, showing y'all your individuality and just how, your particular style and approach it is, because it's slightly different, but it's all Atlanta, all in one.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, I think naturally, with what it is that what we do obviously came from somewhere. And the thing about the city of Atlanta is, like, I say the city of Atlanta is one of the only places that makes you comfortable to be yourself, right? Like, that's why when you go to Atlanta, you go to the Chevron gas station, like, you just see all types of like people that look however they look. I'm not even gonna say they look crazy, but however anybody looks, right? But like, Atlanta allows you to be yourself because the support is so real. Like, I always say, like, we really are the only city that, like, if you give it 100%, the city will meet you halfway, right? So, with that being said, but also just like being from such a rich tradition, like, and just studying it and just being a fan of the game and a fan of, the ones that came before us. The first time I met Jermaine, I don't know if he remembers, but like, LA introduced me, and he was like, yo, Jermaine, like, and the first thing I told him, I was like, yo, you're one of the greatest people that's ever done it, but I'm going to be better to you, right? And it wasn't me saying it in a way like I don't appreciate what he's done. It's inspired everything that I've done. I remember being a kid in front of the TV, you know what I'm saying, like literally dancing to his songs, right? I remember like coming from the airport or being in the airport and driving on the highway and seeing that So Def, billboard that was sitting right there, and all those things and all those dreams that kind of just like, just influence us. And for me, I've also been like a worldly thinker, like, and I knew that this city has something so special, but in a palatable way, if we can take what we know about the city and make it in a way to where it can cross over, to other continents in a way to where, again, it represents a different type of person, right? And I feel like that's just kind of been our mission. It's just like we just want to take what the city has started and push it further. Like, for me, a journey that I've also been on is also understanding that, like, going out here, really realizing that as great as Atlanta is and as great as we all know it is, there is a little bit of like like a side eye to it, because we are from the South, right? So like in a business and executive space, I feel like we want to make it be known that you can be from Atlanta, you can be from the South, and you can do good business, and you can speak the language, and we can do it at the highest level possible. So on that aspect, we kind of want to push it forward too, and yeah, and just like finding a way to just like, I guess just like depict all the colors that are in the city, and that's just kind of been our viewpoint of everything.
And to push that even a little bit, right? You saying that to Jermaine isn't bad. We want, like, with what we've done before, you guys should be able to take that blueprint, that information, and add all the new shit that you think. It should be more. It should be bigger. Like, Atlanta is that space. You don't have a bunch of like the veteran MCs or artists talking about what's this young music, like, because we understand, like, shit, to me, Future, I mean, Thug is James Brown. Like it's feeling, right? And it's just about understanding there's gonna be a new style of things based on what you may have laid. But if you expect the younger generation to do what the older generation does, that's kind of whack.
But so I want to piggyback on that and what Justice said. I think we're entering an era in Atlanta where our natural culture and talent have to catch up to infrastructure and policy. What
do you mean by that?
So there was obviously there was the film tax. Everybody keeps going to the film stuff too, and how big that's been for us. And Falana could probably speak more to that, but that was nerdy work on the early front, right? That was policy wonks and tax people, right? And they helped layer infrastructure that also had input from cool film people. Mm-hmm. And so from a music standpoint, Fadi and I just talked about this the other day. We don't have the full scale infrastructure yet to fully capitalize on the influence that we put out. And when you look at Love Renaissance did a panel during A3C last year, and there was no Black and there was no Summer Walker. It was just the guys from Love Renaissance, right? Standing room only. 25 and under, a couple old heads in there, you know how it go, but mostly like 25 and under. And they were like listening so intently. They were trying to be Love Renaissance. They weren't trying to be Summer Walker or Black. These young kids want to be Jason Jeter and KP. They want to be Justice. These young kids in Atlanta want to be the next Steve Stout or Coltrane Curtis. They want to be the business like Nashville, like LA, New York. They want to be Troy Carter. And I don't think our infrastructure, I don't think our leaders, I don't think our school superintendents, I don't think they understand that Troy Carter is a real person and that KP and J Erving and Fadia Cater are real people, and that what they do, not T.I., right? Nothing against the talent. I'm talking about the business. I'm talking about sports agents. I'm talking about Cortez Bryant, right? That these people are real people and that they pay taxes and do real behind the scenes jobs. I don't think our current infrastructure and our current leaders fully understand that all the way. And if they do, they don't necessarily know how to go forward and really make that a thing. Go ahead.
Well, Ben, I think some of that too speaks on how young our business is in Atlanta. Like we are, you know, me and Jermaine, we're in our 40s now. We're just getting grown. Like, so a lot of this shit we just made up. Like we made up how to do it. So now the structure is now it from someone like Justice and LVRN who can see what we did or didn't do. They're supposed to fix those gaps. Like we did the part we're doing and we're learning as well. Like, you know, we're learning that there's money after being fly. Like, you know what I'm saying? After the hot period, we're the first generation of that in Atlanta when you think about it. So now that we have like,
I went to a thing with Tunde and he was just getting back from a company offsite where they basically had executive coaches and resources and and just talking, I think that we didn't even watch the game because the entire game we were talking about sort of financial instruments and just investments and I was just blown away by the work that these guys were putting in as an entertainment company. Like it was like I was talking to a tech founder, but but these aren't conversations that, you know, are everyday conversations in our business. So it just was super impressive to see, you know, young organizations start off right.
Well, I think they weren't conversations that we were having at that age. Like we're just starting to have them now based on the experience.
But I'll say this,
really bad.
KP, I think that some of what Bame is saying is true, and I do believe but for us, it really isn't about us handing it over per se. We should pass the torch, but it is also our responsibility to move a step further than where we are now. So when you look at where Atlanta is compared to, let's say, a Nashville, or even when you look at LA and New York, Atlanta, like the culture really has built this city. And what we have to do, what Bame is saying is that Atlanta is the music business, but we are not in the business of music. And that's what we have to graduate into. Like I look at, you know, this new role that I have now in government and what we can do. When you look at the film tax credit, just so you guys know, Atlanta also has a music tax credit. However, what happened with the film tax credit is you had all of these major production companies, from your Warner Brothers to Paramount to Sony Studios to Marvel, the entire brands, they all came together and rallied around that film tax credit, and it was able to be passed in a way that is very profitable for all of them. So, I mean, I'm sure you all know about this tax credit, but for every 100 million spent on a film, they get a third of that back. There's a music tax credit. It's not the same, but for every, let's say, 100 to 500,000 spent, you get 10 to 15 to up to 20% back on that money. But what's not happening is that Universal Music Group, Sony, RCA, Motown, every single major label group should be rallying around this music tax credit to get those same benefits for not only Atlanta, but for music businesses around the country. And it's not just the record labels that it benefits. It benefits the artists. The artists, when you're touring, if you do your rehearsals in Atlanta, you get money back on rehearsals. If you do your recording in Atlanta, you get money back. So everybody gets a part of that. I think we just have to get to a point where we're working collectively, and that's what happened in the film world. And to what Bame is saying is that we have to work collectively to get Atlanta there. And I think the right people are on the phone, and we can take the positive out of what's happening right now. I think we all should really delve into that music tax credit to see how we can make Atlanta for what we are, to have that infrastructure in Atlanta that you see in Nashville. There's no reason that every major label shouldn't have a storefront in Atlanta. There's no reason that every publishing company shouldn't have a storefront in Atlanta. There's no reason that the artists that are born and bred, or they get their start in Atlanta, don't come back to Atlanta to record, to rehearse for their concerts. And that's a part of the culture that I think we have to start keeping some of that in the city, so that culture continues to thrive, and that is not just cultural, but we become the same type of business dynasty that you see in Nashville.
Let me real quick. I think just speaking on this, like I seen this from the beginning, right? And I say this to say that, that's one of the parts, one of the parts of Atlanta that's lacking. And it don't have nothing to do with government. I don't think it got nothing to do with the city. I feel like it's the younger the younger executives in this city have to take on a take on more. When I was 21, I had 50 employees at So Death. 50 in this city. 21, I was 21 years old. Like KP said, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. But I had 50 people that worked for me at my company. It's not a company in this city got 50 employees. You know what I'm saying? Not no record company. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody now is trying to get deals with these majors in these other cities and allowing the majors in the other cities to do all the work. And all we doing is being the front guys. That's gotta stop. That's never been my attitude. My attitude has always been, this so deaf, this so deaf. I'm gonna have my own promotion staff. I want my own mix show crew. I want all of this. And from the beginning, it was tough as hell because I was the only person coming from here doing that and screaming at that. And then we had LaFace come, and then LaFace hired basically the same amount of people, if not more. And people started working, and then it started feeling like, oh, okay, we could start. They got real business operating in Atlanta. These people are really out here. They giving people jobs, and they doing this and they doing that. That's the one thing I don't feel like is happening in the city as much as it used to happen in the 90s. And if anybody feels different, they can correct me. But I just feel like we've always been a city that sits alone, and we sit outside of everybody. And we gotta show that. I remember one day I had Scooter come here, and Scooter came and he was like, Jermaine, let's go to Georgia Tech and find another Scooter Braun. And it was almost like a joke to him, because he almost, in his mind, he was like, ain't nobody else in this city doing like me. Ain't nobody else trying to, as a white guy, trying to mingle with the brothers and go to compound and find out what's going on and this, that, and the third. And I hate to say it, felt like he was right. You know what I'm saying? And that shouldn't be the case. So I feel like we getting money and we getting these bags in the front, but we ain't actually doing what, we got to do a little bit more work at home. Like what Tyler Perry doing. Tyler Perry built a studio in here to make sure everybody come to Atlanta, to make sure don't nobody go to LA no more, to make sure all the black people, you film your shit here, right? And that's the mentality that you got to take if you're going to be in the record business the same way, if we want that same type of activity.
Yeah, you got to own some real estate to be able to talk.
Yeah, and Jermaine, to your point, when you look at type.
By the way, Tip just stepped in. He was filming expeditiously, so he's now with us.
Yeah, what's going on, guys? Thank y'all for y'all patience, man. I'm just here listening and learning to the people smarter than me, man.
But Jermaine, hey Tip, Jermaine,
what's going on, guys? How y'all doing?
Jermaine, to your point, when you look at Tyler Perry started as an actor, and he started producing plays, and then he started making films in Hollywood, and now he owns his own production company. So my point is, yes, it's about the younger generation, but it's also about us graduating. Like, we are for music what Tyler Perry is for film. So we have to hold. They need to see the Scooter Brauns, and we have to show them Scooter. We have to show them Jermaine. We have to show them Fadia. We have to show them KP. And we have to continue. What's that?
I think that's the biggest thing, like where Tyler bet on himself and understood his value and played long. Yeah, and I think what we see in the music industry a lot, and this is way different from just other businesses that we get involved in. It's like you almost, like with joint ventures and things along those lines, you end up selling half of your company before you even start, essentially, at the lowest possible valuation that you could sell it for. And you only have one option for an exit if you ever get it, and that's with that company. And so you're not building enterprise value. So it's like, I think it's just the idea of being able to, it's like eat ramen, eat fucking oodles and noodles. Like, just, are you willing to sacrifice the short term for playing long? And then when Mark Zuckerberg got his board, Yahoo tried to get him to sell Facebook for $1 billion, and offer on the table, term sheet on the table, board is pushing him to do it, and he took the bet on himself. You look at Evan from Snapchat, same exact thing.
$13 billion
how much was it?
It was a $13 billion offer that he passed in Mark Zuckerberg's face.
And so Evan from Snapchat, so you got people who are willing to sort of sacrifice the short-term gain in terms of building long enterprise value. And with music right now is so cheap in terms of we're in a beautiful business, because the fact that our product is software and songs, and it's no real cost of goods, and you can build catalog. It's like, and now with streaming is the gift that keeps on giving, and you just see this recurring revenue. That's worth so much to these labels now, that once people start taking up those Tyler Perry bets on themselves, we're gonna see real 9-figure entrepreneurs going into 10 figures from this next wave that's gonna come along.
I think the only thing in that is people have to, I think a lot of the examples that we have, other than Mark Zuckerberg, like a Tyler Perry, who had something he believed in and nobody else did. So it forced him to do it. Like, I'm glad Tip is on, like, because Tip is one of the smarter of the artists who has who owns his shit, because there was a moment where it wasn't the strongest belief, and he got a chance to actually own his shit during that. And I think those are the examples we gotta highlight and explain, so that people coming after T.I. knows that it's not just about, it's not one aspect of him. He's not just an artist. He's an artist who owns and is in charge of his creations. Tip, you want to jump in?
I think that I just kind of, it was a combination of being lucky and also kind of learning the difference between a good deal and a bad deal. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of us as artists, and even when we bet on ourselves, we know the things to do to generate momentum to get us leverage, right? But once we get the leverage, we don't know what to ask for besides some money. You know what I'm saying? The first thing, like when we got we can, I remember I had 24s that was running and, down near #1 on top 8 and 8, free and clear. And, every label ringing the phone. And if I did not know that I wanted a joint venture with, a reversion for masters and all that kind of shit, if I hadn't learned to ask for that, I would not have been able to use my leverage to so much to my advantage at the time. But I will also say a lot of motherfuckers don't care. Now, I ain't bullshitting. A lot of motherfuckers do not care. Listen, bro, I have sat down with young artists and be like, okay, listen. And they said, come on, Tip. I want the bag. I want a bag, Tip. Listen, bro, if I give you a bag, I'm going to have to take something from you that's worth exponentially more than what I'm giving you now. And it's not going to be fair to you. I don't care nothing about all that shit, Tip. Just give me the bag. And when you got people like that, ain't nothing but time and experience going to kind of show them. You know what I mean? We could sit here and say, guys, listen, keep your publishing. But as soon as Big John write them a $10,000 check, you know what I'm saying? They going to get that motherfucking publishing deal. So, I think a lot of times, man, we have to do better jobs. At least I'm speaking for me, myself personally. I have to do a better job as an executive or as a, for lack of better terms, a gatekeeper for the culture. I have to do a better job of finding those people who care to learn first and giving them the information and not waste time trying to give information to everybody. And 90% of these motherfuckers don't even want to learn.
You would just figure out my whole strategy. Go, Tip.
Because I've been trying to give my elders and my OGs the space to speak on it. But as a young executive that came up in a pocket, there was a very, very small window in Atlanta where, creative loafing, media was starting to go down. I think the biggest thing that we were missing in Atlanta at a certain period was a media outlet in our backyard. We all, as a young manager, I constantly had to get on a flight with my artists and take them to fucking New York, to go to the Fader, to go to Vibe, to go somewhere. But there was a point in Atlanta where we had Rolling Loud, we had Creative Loafing. We could go to our people, try to get attention that way, Fader to come down. But if without a media outlet at a certain pocket in Atlanta's history, we weren't able to own that narrative. So people spoke on our behalf and they owned our narrative on like for us.
Yeah,
and
no.
as a young executive during that time period, there was a time period, and Falana says it best all the time. Like when I met Mayor Bottoms like at the Grammys, she introduced me as this is yet another young executive that had to leave the city to make a name for herself. Everybody knew who I was in Atlanta, from Jeff Dixon and Luda to Jason, you know, with JG. Like everybody was trying to give me a label because I had all the cool kids in Atlanta coming up. But the issue at that time was that it was 5 people eating off one check. We didn't have the resources. So here we are trying to raise these young executives to come up at a certain pocket, you know, but the money was drying up because the media outlets were, you know, taking over for us, and we didn't have the resources, and young execs were trying to come up, but we couldn't even get our foot in the door. And unfortunately, it forced us out. And every time, the first time I went to New York, I came back to Atlanta in 3 months. I was like, fuck this. I don't want to be here. Like, that's not where I want to lay my foundation. And then I had to go back to New York 3 years later, and it was always like, this is an extended business trip. That's how I positioned it. Like, I don't want to be here. But, you know.
I also think it's, like I said, I think it's back to what we talked about too. A lot of times executives, not you per se, but I'm saying a lot of times, you know, we have to, like he said, play the long card. You know what I mean? Play the long, play the long haul. You know, operate something in Atlanta where people actually understand that this is you and this is where this is coming from, so that they you know, they put their stamp on you being in Atlanta as a thing, as opposed to like bypassing this. I feel like one of the reasons, I won't say I'm completely the reason, but one of the main reasons that this is not the way we want it to be in the beginning is because me and Dallas at one time, EMI offered me and Dallas to become a joint company, and they was gonna merge our publishing, and they wanted to make EMI South, us become the owners of EMI South. And he and I both was too stupid to take the deal, and we both was like too egoed out. You know what I mean? He asked for $10 million. I asked for $1 billion. It was like, you know what I mean? It was like way past Marty even making the deal. But my point is that it was there. It was there because they saw and they felt the energy that was coming from this city from both locations. Dark was doing what they was doing, So Def was doing what they was doing, and we was both in the same city, and it made sense for them to be like, you know, we should have a hub in Atlanta and we should let these guys operate it. I say that to say that should still be happening. You know, if it's not happening, that means the energy is not spewing out the same way that it was being spewed by the both of us. And all that is we just got to work harder. And I feel like, I mean, hopefully when you ask what's going to come out of this quarantine, I believe that's what's going to come out of this quarantine, because one thing I know for sure is that we're not going back to regular life. Like, no. I hope don't nobody think that's about to happen. Ain't gonna be no back to what we just came from. Everybody should be thinking forward to try to get this to a space. And I know for me, like, just being in the studio every day and writing and making songs and sending them out to different people, I'm in a whole different handoff thing that I was before this happened. You know what I mean? I'm sending records to, it's people hitting me on Instagram like, yo, JD, send me a beat, da-da-da. That weren't even talking to me prior to, you know what I mean, to this quarantine thing. But, and I'm probably—
Hey, bro, I'm one of those people, bro. I actually asked for a specific beat, but don't even worry about it. We ain't gonna trip. Don't continue.
I got you. But I'm just saying, like, you know, Tip, exactly. See, Tip, know what I'm saying? Tip hit me on Instagram, said, yo, JD, what's up with that beat? And when you start seeing that, if you are a creative person and you start adapting to that, because I know that's what I'm starting to do. I'm starting to adapt to seeing this happen. We all just got to understand. We're not going back to what was. I hope everybody is completely understanding that. I had
That will be a new normal inserted in everyone's life. So, you know what I'm saying? Prepare to make the adjustments.
100%. So I like I said, I think we just got to create as much momentum as we possibly can in this city to create that energy that Ben was talking about. I don't know where he went. Is he still here?
Let me give like a realist point of view and from a point of view as to where like this is happening in current times for me. Like I remember in 2016 when we were you know, when we were gonna do our first joint venture with Interscope, and you know, the issue that we seem to find is the lack thereof information. We don't document the information. That's just the thing. As Black people, bro, we don't speak to each other about money, what it is we're worth, what it is that we should ask for. Luckily that we had Shaka and Jeff in our corner. I had JG, and I really went out to go look and seek out that information. But bro, like, you know how bad I wanted a Lamborghini? But Shaka's like, bro, don't be stupid. Go get an office, build infrastructure. That's what we did. That's the first thing that we did. And regardless of success along the way or not, but like to the other states in California and to New York, what they said is like, oh, those LVRN guys, they do proper business. They're not gonna take the money and run off and just fuck it off. But like it's really like, again, it's really just goes back to even Fadia's point. It's just document the information and really utilizing and emphasizing to the younger generation about reading and learning, but doing it in a way to where it's really cool. And that's kind of really been our mission, and my mission in particular is just like, how can you make an executive look and feel the coolest way possible, just so these kids feel like there's a reason to listen to them, because shit can get very drowned out, and when things get a little bit too complicated, it intimidates people, and like, I don't want to learn. You know what I'm saying? So like, we have to find a way to just make things and information so palatable, but document in such a way to where, like, you know, like there's something that we're going to be rolling out soon. But like, for example, we want, for all of our artists, we want to document and put out to the rest of the world all of our past rollout strategies, all of our marketing strategies, just so this information is really transparent with the audience, because that's what I need.
Send them to me first, though, Justice. I want to see them.
I got you. But that's what I needed. Like, it's just like, just the transparency, and like in the music right now, like obviously that's the artists that are winning, is the transparency with their audience. And I feel like from an executive space, that's what's gonna propel us to go to the next level. And like with Jermaine and Tip, luckily on their end, like they were big stars, right? So like when they made a move, you had to notice, right? So now how can we do that from a business end? Because I can't sing or dance. How can we from a business end be able to get our voice and have an echo as loud as possible to be able to get that information out there? Well, and that's kind of where we are.
You guys have an actual taste. Like, I think what
I was about to say that.
Yeah, what it all comes down to is the taste and the things that you put out, and the consistency, and people being able to see the thread of what you bring. Like, you can give everybody the marketing plan. Everybody's not gonna do it. First of all, everybody doesn't have the tools to do it. They don't have the artists that make sense with it, like that will do the work for it. Like it's a lot that goes into it. You can get, like, I feel like you're right. Give everybody the plan.
But he's giving them the language, KP. Like, I think it's the language that's the most important thing. Even whether they can execute or not, it's like, I think just being able, like my gift was when I was working for James Lassiter as his assistant. I had to run his phone call, so I got to listen in on every single conversation to sort of learn the language. And so I think in JL, he grew up 8 blocks away from where I lived in Southwest Philly. So in my mind, I'm like, if JL, who's from where I'm from, our moms used to catch the bus to work together, if he can speak to studio heads and these people, it just gave me a level of confidence and just the language around it.
Yeah, and I'm saying that as well. I'm just saying that the beauty of it is, like, it's a combination of what Tip and Justice said, is some people aren't paying that any attention, but as long as you put it out there, the people who need it and who are looking for it, they'll be able to use it. So it's just like, you never have to worry about giving, like, the whole world having your plan, because most of the people aren't going to read it. but the people who are
Right.
looking for it and need it, they will. And that's what you got to do it for. And
A
no,
lot of times we find that creatives have the tendency of also hoarding their plans, or being so stuck on the fact, like, and I can speak for myself, there was a certain point where I was creating a new blueprint for all like the subculture and the artsy kids and the weirdo kids. I mean, Broken Bougie was like groundbreaking to give the opportunities for the Keys, the Meezies, the Justices, the Shawns, the Shauna Peasies. I mean, I can name everybody that came out of that scene and out of those parties. But guess what? Like, I had to come to terms with the fact that I may have created a blueprint, but I wasn't meant to be the one to keep that blueprint going. I had to share it, give it to somebody else, and go run another play to open up another door. And that's exactly what I had to do. It killed me to leave Atlanta, but I knew going to New York, I could open up a door at Complex Magazine and get Future to be on a cover when they wouldn't even want to book Future for $2,000. And not just Atlanta, like I was thinking about secondary markets like Chicago, like Chance the Rapper. I was begging people in in media outlets to like cover Chance when I was working at Complex. It's all about just like having the long-term vision and being okay with the fact like you just might not get the glory, and it's okay, but you know what? All roads lead back to you. And now people are so worried about the fame and the glory and all that. That's not what it's about. At the end of the day, there's nobody that I know that cannot say that Fadia did not do something for me at some point if we've been connected. And that's with anybody.
And again, going back to that's the spirit of that Atlanta thing. It's like if you got it, spread it, like, and make sure you spread it with the right people. Like you find the people who can do something with it, and you do it. And hopefully out of this, we can see more of that the infrastructure, because I think that's the realest thing. I had to leave Atlanta to go learn. Like I moved out to go to New York. I had to go learn how they were talking about us in these boardrooms.
Talking about crazy.
It's crazy.
They talk about us crazy.
Crazy. Like, and I was at Sony. It was a different place. The honesty that you get from it though is paramount. You need that. You need to understand how to maneuver around the problems, because we always try to go like, if we're dope, we'll win. But when you get in these rooms and find out, no, infrastructure is about market share. It's about who can pull, like who can do something for you. And you start realizing, once I learn these rules and these techniques, I can take these back. Like I was always looked at as out of the Dungeon family. I went to take a job at LaFay so I can go learn. Like, so we didn't get like people can keep jugging us. Like we wanted to understand, why is it that they'll give us this much for this much? And those are the things that we all got to do. Somebody got to take, like Fadi said, somebody has to take the step that it's not about me and the glory. It's about the information and kind of like the story of it,
May I ask a question?
Yes.
At what point should we kind of like prepare ourselves to adjust to the level of saturation that is now in the market for what we do? Because like you just mentioned, back then when there were Organized Noise and Rough Riders and Rockefeller Bad Boy, Death Row. Okay, so let's say maybe 100 people dropped a year. You dig what I'm saying? And now we have thousands a day. You see what I'm saying? So at what point can the marketing that we implement kind of adjust to the times of saturation that we're dealing with right now?
I got it.
Go ahead.
We got to put our foot down. And when I say put our foot down, meaning something is trash, Cool.
I like where you're going with this.
Right?
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Right. So
smelling what you're selling. Come on with it.
So what I'm saying is that when we put our foot down, at the end of the day, as curators and as leaders of the creative community, you gotta understand people want to live their life like vicariously through y'all, right? And through us. So with that being said, when we put our foot down and let's say Tip, Jermaine, KP, and all of the biggest Atlanta acts per se, like they put their foot down and they say, this is what we stamping and this is the wave. And because it's a wave, people people from a mass, once you understand people and how marketing works, life becomes simple, because you really have to understand that people just want to feel like they can trust and that whoever is leading them has courage. So once it feels like it's an apologetic movement, is gonna push the artist to be able to like, all right, cool, I gotta make what they making. I gotta get on their level. I gotta be as good as that, just so I can be allowed in the in crowd. Because it's about making that and branding that in such a way to where like, you know, like it's undeniable. But like when we just let shit slide through the door because it's hot, it's like, all right, cool. Like, you know what I'm saying? And you're gonna get 1,000 more of those, but we gotta put our foot down.
Yeah.
And in that, it's the what do you call it? It's not wrong to be critical. Like, it's not hating to be critical. It's like, we got to get out of that space that you don't want to say anything because it might hurt your friend's feelings. It's like, we got to get to that place because it's the idea of steel sharpens steel. If you tighten up, the people around you will naturally have to tighten up.
I've gotten to the point now where if I like something, I just know it's not gonna make it.
God damn.
Say, like, in regards to I'm gonna throw a fun fact back at y'all and for the crowd. Fun fact, BAME put me on to Drake way back in the day. Fun fact, BAME and I and 2 other folks threw Drake's first sold out show ever back in 2009 at the Loft in Atlanta. After that show, I decided to bring Lil B. When I tell you, I caught so much hell in the city. Like, why would you bring Lil B? And I'm like, bro, just because I don't like it doesn't mean that there isn't a generation that doesn't like it. You know, there's entertainment, like there's disposable entertainment is what I like to call it. And there's like timeless entertainment. And that's okay. Just because I like disposable entertainment doesn't mean that I can't appreciate something that's golden. And that's the thing.
No,
it's like,
listen, there's high level ignorant shit that I live by.
that shit.
Like don't
Everything ain't for everybody.
But what I'm saying is, I think in that, and what Tip is saying is, in the conversation, I mean, this might even be an answer, I don't know. But when the filtering system is happening for itself now, it's like everybody's on the same playing field right this minute. You can't, you don't look richer, which makes you cooler right now. It's like, it's better or it's not. Like, when you look at the numbers on people's lives, it's like, if it's interesting, people stay. If it's not, they move. You have to just be better now. And I think that's the gift in this kind of shortage of everything else. You gotta do your best to even get the attention at this point. Like, you know, like Tim said, like a lot of stuff you think that, oh, I'm sorry, no, that was Justice. It's like, the reason why Kendrick Lamar got the attention he did from the jump was Snoop and Dre said him.
Exactly.
Like, listen to him. And he stayed. And the thing is, you could tell they actually vetted to know that he could actually handle it.
Right. Right. And Tip, you know, like I feel you when you say, like, you know, when if you like something, you just know it's not gonna work. When, you know, what this new generation hasn't been blessed with is the idea of artist development, right? And I feel like because we've been trained to be so numbers driven or be so data driven, we forget to realize that, like, you know, certain artists might have all the talent in the world, but they might lack somewhere else. The niggas' pants might just suck. Throw on some better pants, my G. Like, know what to say at the party, and that in itself is artist development. You got to just go spend some more time. You got to, like, yo, hey, my nigga, like, come over here. Like, you just need to go to Magic City and hang with these niggas for like 3 months, and that's just part of your artist development. Just don't say nothing stupid and just learn, right? And it's outside of the music, because the music is obviously very important, but these kids, they want to look up to somebody, and they want a hero. Like, I remember when you came out of nowhere and you popped a rubber band on your wrist. Like, what the fuck does that mean? It means absolutely nothing, but this shit was the most legendary shit I ever saw, right? So it's just like, if you understand that, and if you see that, these kids and coming up, the ones that might be talented, they need swag lessons, they need entertainment lessons. Like, they know they have to understand how to entertain the people. Like, you got bars, but my nigga, if you're boring, bro, I don't give a fuck, right? So it's just like, they need to also understand that shit is equally as important. Just don't look down on shit because you don't understand it. So that's what it is.
Yeah, you can only sell music so much.
Right.
You know what I mean? At some point, you got to sell the story of a person.
Right.
You know
the good music is just really just gonna ensure that they stay. right? But to get in through the door and to get the attention, bro, at the end of the day, it's entertainment. And we live in a generation to where if the packaging ain't right, bro, I don't want to hear it. There's a reason why Apple is the greatest brand that's ever existed in our generation, because everything hits, from the fucking branding to the person that's presenting it to like the messaging, everything hits. So again, you have a Kendrick Lamar where the nigga can rap his ass off and he can rap better than anybody else, but when he presents some shit, you best believe it's equally as entertaining as when Thug is presenting some shit. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter who it is. You have to present on that same level. You know what I'm saying? But like, that's just kind of where we at with it.
I just want to jump in because I realize we're about a little over time for everything, but just to respect everyone's time and just really grateful for everyone that was able to participate today. For our audience,
master class today.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite ones we've usually done.
Down.
For
I feel like if I had one takeaway from this like gem of a masterclass, like thank you everyone for such like deep, provocative, real, honest thoughts. I feel like the themes for me are around ownership, around like equity, around like transparency, and around like Atlanta becoming a place for music entrepreneurs, whether they're artists, executives, producers, but entrepreneurs, to like rely on the people that have learned before them and learn from everywhere else, and like take it upon themselves to create a lane where ownership and equity and like new institutions are born and bred from Atlanta, like undeniably. And I feel like with like Justice and with LVRN, what you were like, it's already happening. So I'm just like grateful that the internet exists, where that lack of access to information, you know, about deal structures and about how $1 million advance is actually not $1 million in your pocket, it's a loan against your future royalties. Like that type of information is out there. And so young artists who want the Lambo, be like Justice, and you know, the Lambo will come later. Invest in yourself first, like what Troy said, like know your worth. Sorry.
It's all good. I can't think of a better way to close it out. But no, as always, thank you everyone for joining us, both audience and both the panelists. I'm going to post our Slack group so you guys continue to talk to each other after the panel's over and everything. For our panelists, if you guys have any other questions for them, please post in the Slack group, and we'll also be here same time tomorrow at 4 p.m. For LA. So we'll join us then. Thank you, everyone.
Hey, thanks for pulling it together, man.
You guys crushed it.
Thanks for the invite, man. Appreciate all y'all.
What's at the title until today?
If I could leave you all with one thing.
What's at the title until today?
Hold on, we're about to say something.
If I could leave you all with one thing, I think we should all make it our definite intention to find a way to each and every last one of us to make some money together, no matter how major or minute. Just find a way to create something that can continue to generate revenue, that'll continue to contribute to the ecosystem together. If all of us can come together to do this, we can come together to do something that can impact the culture collectively.
Let us buy in a couple of them properties you got out there. You own half
Come
of
on, pull up. See, I'm glad you're talking. I'm glad you're talking because I need funding. See, I need. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad you're talking because I ain't spent nobody money but mine. So pull on up.
Get a little piece of that.
Come on now, for real though. Hey man, I would love to include everybody, man, because my vision is bigger than just me. You dig what I'm saying? My vision, it supersedes just what I can do for myself. You know what I mean? So I'm going to have to call people who smarter than me and who have strengths that I don't have and, you know, who can see shit that I can't see. So each and every last one of you motherfuckers got a place on my motherfucking ship. You dig what I'm saying? We just got to figure out how we can all collectively work together.
Absolutely.
But love and respect.
Love.
Good.
All right, now.
Safe, yo.
You too.
Okay, thanks everyone.